Hello, welcome in to the Arkansas Sports Network, and I'm making sure that all my pieces are in place. And glad to have you along today as we are talking. Well, we're going to spend a lot of time talking high school basketball rankings. Before we do that, I do need to go get one thing, so hang on with me real quick. All right, so I gotta get my notes together because, well, there was a lot. There was a lot to take in. And we definitely looked into a lot of the different rankings and who needed to be where, and you can see it's kind of see-through here. I'm sorry about that. It's close to our green color there on our green screen. So anyway, we're again glad to have you along today as we're talking re-rankings. Now, one of the things I'm going to say before I even get into this is this is probably the greatest time to do rankings because at this point you have seen enough. You've seen enough of the conference play, how they go up against everybody, especially in the smaller schools. It's a little bit more difficult in the preseason to rank teams, just because there's such a crossover there. There's 1A playing 3A and 1A beating 3A, but this 1A team is really good. And speaking of that, the Earl Lady Bulldogs right now, just looking at everything that they've done this year, probably outside of the Farmington Lady Cardinals, maybe North Little Rock, maybe not. They've played some really big teams this year. Earl is a absolute they could make a case for the top two or three in the state out of 1A. And that's another thing that plays into a factor into that, where in the girls it's a little bit more competitive between classes, where in the boys maybe not as quite competitive between classes. And so anyway, but with the rankings, you're always going to make somebody upset. You're always going to have somebody that disagrees with you. You're always going to have somebody that says, well, we should be here, we beat this one. And that's a whole different thing as well, because, you get so many games in the season. And sorry, I'm still adjusting everything here, trying to make sure that everything looks good. But anyway, you get so far into the season where you've seen so many games where this team beats this team, and this team beats this team, and Team A beats Team B, Team C beats Team A, and Team B beats Team C, and then how do you rank that head-to-head? And there's a lot of that. One of the things that I have found is that it's really difficult to, well, probably a better way to put it is splitting hairs. There are a lot, and when I mean a lot, I mean a lot of splitting hairs between several classes. And so that's my perspective as I sit down and I do rankings. There's a lot of splitting hairs. There were some changes, I will say that. Could they be right? Could they be wrong? Yeah, it's hard to say. It's obviously it's decided on the court, but what I have found is that when you really put these teams together, you could find any day. You could find a day where Team A beats Team B, and you turn around and play that game again, and Team B will beat Team A. And I look at the NCAA tournament, and I think, well, that's why they put such a heavy emphasis on neutral court, because there's such an advantage on the home court that the neutral court is just a huge factor in this. So anyway, if you will, like this with us, share this with your friends, comment, subscribe, all those beautiful things that we need you to do to help us get out there. And we are getting out there. Today I was on a phone call with somebody, and they were telling us about that. So before I get into all of our good stuff here with the rankings, I do want to make sure that you've seen this right behind me here. March 3rd through the 7th, we will be bringing you 56 postseason basketball games. We are going to be live at the 4A state tournament, and then the 1A state tournament we're going to be partnering with the high school broadcasters, and they're going to be doing the 1A state tournament. We're going to be we're going to help them. We're going to be doing some stuff with them, a lot of graphical stuff, that sort of thing that will kind of bring them under our umbrella. And we do appreciate the high school broadcasters for joining up with us. It's going to be a great time there at Stamps, and then obviously we love being at Morrilton. That's man, really, truthfully, one of my favorite places, if not my very favorite place to broadcast from, because it's just such a great gym, and there's just a lot of things going on there that are it's really one of the best well-built gyms in the state. Always first class over there at Morrilton. We look forward to that. Now, I know that we got some messages saying 3A. Well, what about 3A? Well, this year it just didn't work out for us to do 3A. We've done 3A 3 years in a row, but we just this time, for a lot of reasons, but Osceola has the broadcasters over there. They're going to be doing the 3A tournament. They'll do a good job there. So you're not going to be missing a lot there, and we'll say we're excited to be here. Kyle Wheeler says, just stop. Well, Kyle Wheeler, go ahead and turn it off if you don't like what we're doing, buddy. Anyway, with that being said, we're going to get into the rankings. Ranking number one, we're going to get into the 1A. Let's look here. Here we go. Get into it. 1A girls, a little bit of change there. Biggest change is Taylor. Taylor dropped down to number 7. And again, a lot of these were not because of really recent results mainly. Obviously number 1 this week, there hasn't been that many results. So we just didn't have much to go from. So we just basically just started anew, and this is what we come up with. Measured different resumes against each other. One dropped out. That was Rural Special. Lafayette County setting at 16-4, 15-4 right now. That sort of thing. So we felt like that Lafayette County with that record felt good about getting in there. Jasper has played a very tough schedule. You see the 1A2, I believe, Viola, Norfolk, and Westside Greers Ferry are all in the top 10. And again, Rural Special right outside the top 10 there. And I think that you could take several of these and just kind of drop them, like in a hat, really. I think your top 4, I think, are probably a little bit more, separated would probably be the best way to put it. And then I think you could take 5 through 11 or 12 and put them in a hat, and that would be right on that one day. So with that being said, this is what we got for our re-rank here for the 1A top 10. Earl, Westside Greers Ferry, County Line, Mark Tree, Norfolk, Wonderview, Taylor, Viola, Jasper, and Lafayette County. And the good thing is that you get to play it out on the court, and that's what's going to happen here very soon. Again, hopefully that will, obviously it's going to take place, and you're going to be able to play each other. And this will, I've said it 1,000 times, I'll say it again, rankings take care of themselves. So, like I said, Earl, they've got a real claim, I think, to top 2 or 3 in the whole state right now with their resume. Westside Greers Ferry comes in behind them. They have played some bigger schools. Last year, I think Westside was the top team by a pretty good margin. This year, I think that Earl is maybe the top team by a little bit of a margin there. County Line and Mark Tree falling in behind them. And again, like I said, take 5 through 10 and order them any way you would like it. And you'd probably be right. And then, of course, ball's going to be played for the rest of the year. So there's going to be some movement up and down from there to now. So anyway, that is your 1A girls ranking. 1A boys here, I find them to be very deep. 1A boys, there are several teams that you could rank in the 1A, and again, you would be right. One of the things that I have really come up with when it comes to rankings is deserving versus best. History will say that Earl's the best team in 1A. Right now, Jasper is the most deserving team to be at the top. Again, they'll get a chance to play each other, but history doesn't play games on the court. So you've got Jasper at 1. Again, they've played some bigger schools. They've come out victorious, got some good wins. Earl right behind them. Then you got Blevins, Nevada, Lead Hill, Bradford. Bradford moved up from 9 to 6. One of the reasons why they moved to 9 is just a couple losses down the line there. But just looking at who they've played, and let me just go ahead and do this because I've got it right here. When I was looking at these rankings, I compared Crowley's Ridge, Bradford, Kirby, County Line, and Lead Hill. Lead Hill was also a team that moved up quite a bit, and they've got some good wins. Let me go ahead and talk to you about Lead Hill's wins. They have wins over Flippin and Bergman. Those are 2 really good wins for a 1A squad. That was one of the reasons why that they moved up. They're 24-5 overall. They've got 2 4A wins. They've got a win over Huntsville and a win over Berryville. Like I said, Bergman and Flippin, both of those are top 10 ranked teams in the 3A. Ozark Mountain is a team that's right outside in the 2A. Cotter, Eureka Springs are your other 2 wins there that are upper class wins. So let's see here. Let me just do this. I can't keep up with all the comments and try to talk to you at the same time. So I'm going to do my best to try to just concentrate on this. We'll try to do comments afterward. If you want to be nice in your comments, I'll definitely consider them. If you don't want to be nice, that's okay. Anyway, that's the biggest movers, Lead Hill, Bradford. You've got Blevins and Nevada playing each other. I believe it's either tonight or Tuesday night. Crowley's Ridge did get in there, and a lot of people talking about Crowley's Ridge. Their best win is against Earl. One of the reasons why they weren't in, Hillcrest, a loss there, 12-11. Riverside's 18-12. It's not a bad loss there. Tuckerman, 14-10. Their upper class wins are over Buffalo Island, Marmaduke, and Walnut Ridge. Decent wins there. And any time that you can move up in the class, that's good. That's decent wins. Kirby was a team that fell down the rankings a little bit. Their best win is against Nevada. Outside of that, not a bunch of huge wins. Acorn, Maumelle Charter, Costatoc River, and Bismarck are their wins that they played against teams from higher classes. County Line also fell. The thing that got me about County Line was the loss to Yaleville Summit. They've got wins over Acorn, Dover, Johnson County Westside. Waldron's a 4A win. Mountainburg and Clarksville. Those are big-time wins there. So I say big-time wins. Those are higher-class wins. So that's how we fell there. I felt like this is how they stacked up. Let me look here. Bradford, their best win was over Riverview, and I really thought, obviously that was comparable to the Earl win in some ways, being a top 5 team in 3A, although I think Earl might have the advantage against Riverview, but it would probably be a really good game. And then their upper class wins, White County Central, which is just outside the top 10 in 2A. They've beaten Rosebud, I believe, times 2. They've got a win over Cave City, who is, are they 3A or 4A in basketball? It all runs together. So that is that's the rationale for the 1A. And so anyway, we're looking at 2A real quick now. We'll start in 2A. And, again, these rankings, when you're talking about them, I can tell you for sure, 100%, you are splitting hairs between a bunch of teams, a bunch of them. And two teams that I went back and forth about was Riverside and Sloan Hendricks. And Riverside and Sloan Hendricks, and let me get to my notes here. Again, I spent a good portion of yesterday doing this. That's one of the reasons why we couldn't get them out. Just wanted to make sure that I did a good job and really looked at this. Now, Sloan Hendricks and Riverside have played a few common opponents here. Sloan Hendricks beat Rural Special 68-36. Riverside beat them 70-46. Sloan beat Buffalo Island 61-51. Riverside beat them 54-52. They have both beaten Tuckerman, both by good margins. The closest, actually, Sloan Hendricks has beaten Tuckerman 3 times. 71-52 margin there. Well, I'm sorry, 62-54 is the closest game of that. Riverside beat them 68-40. The difference between these two, one at 24-2 and one at 27-2, was the loss to Mark Tree on Sloan Hendricks. Sloan Hendricks lost to Mark Tree 67-57, while Riverside beat them twice. Now, again, when you're splitting hairs, I mean, what do you do? I mean, who's better? They've played each other twice. Sloan Hendricks lost the first one by 5 to Riverside, and then turned around and beat them by 11. I mean, when you're splitting hairs, and I wasn't at the either one of those games, but my guess is that it got to the end of the game, and there was some free throw shot, and it probably was a 5 to 7 point game, and then the free throws probably pushed it out a little bit. I mean, I've seen enough basketball to know. So, I mean, could you tie those teams at 2? Absolutely, you could do that. When I look at the 2A girls, I'm going to mark a line under number 7, and I'm going to say your title contenders come from one of those 7. I think that real serious title contenders, I think you can go to the top 5 there and say that Poe and Riverside, Sloan Hendricks, Quitman, and Dirks are probably your top contenders. But who can count out Barton when you got Demaya Wilson there and, you can drop 50 points at any point? I mean, she's phenomenal. Again, you're splitting hairs between this. Akron, Ouachita, and Buffalo Island come in behind those guys. And, again, just looking at that, I looked at strength of schedule, different things of that nature, wins and losses, common opponents, and, that's what I come up with. It could be right. It could be wrong. I guess we'll figure that out as we go here. Let me look here real quick. Let's see. Mary Prinville says the most. I'm not really sure what you're saying there, but maybe you can explain that to me. Let's look here. All right, we're going into the 2A boys now. 2A boys is pretty top-heavy. It's real similar to the girls. I think 2A boys, though, is a deep classification, and I think that's going to be a fun tournament to be at Poen. Hector stays at the top. They're undefeated. The reason that Hector stayed at the top, I felt like that Hector had 2 best wins of anybody outside of the class, and that was to a ranked Paris team and a ranked Ozark team. Those 2 wins are good wins, a 3A and a 4A win. I did not see any of the other wins that really were better than that. Hector's undefeated right now, and they're beating teams by probably a margin of about 20 points average and many 30-point wins. I do know that they have pulled starters in the third quarter in many games because those margins could be actually bigger than they are. Obviously, when you're talking about 2A basketball, East Poinsett County is right there. Sloan Hendricks right behind them. England and Barton and Hampton. I think you can draw a line under those guys and say the top 6 there, probably your state champion comes out of those guys. Mount Vernon, Enola, Conway, St. Joseph, they just played. St. Joseph won that game, but when you stack up the resumes versus the two, Mount Vernon and Enola beat St. Joseph earlier in the season by closer to 30 points. Woodlawn and Junction City come from the 9 and 10. I think that right now you also got to look at Poen as a team that's a really good team. Somebody's not going to make the tournament, even out of that foursome there between Hampton, Woodlawn, Junction City, and Poen. Somebody likely is not going to make the state tournament at all, and that's a good group of teams. There's a deep group of teams there in 2A boys, and anyway, that's what we come up with within the 2A boys. Let me go to 3A here. Go to 3A girls. Now, not a lot of changes here in the 3A girls. In fact, Bergman was the only one that dropped, I believe. Bergman dropped to 7. You've got Greenland at the top right now. When you look at their competition, I felt like they played the toughest competition. Strength of record probably puts them at 1. Mountain View at 2. Dover at 3. I think those three right there, one of those three is probably going to win the state championship in 3A. Melbourne is right behind them, I think. Manila is right behind them as well. You could probably group those guys together. And then Episcopal, Bergman, McGee, and Dumas, Mansfield. I think that's going to be an interesting tournament. Number 10, Mansfield, with Kaylee Ward, who just dropped 50 points. Anytime that you have a kid that can drop 50 points in a game, you are a team that can beat just about anybody. And Ward is somebody that people are going to have to figure out a way to match up with. And, I mean, she's a Division I basketball player for a reason. So, it's no joke there. David Bartlett says, look out for Hampton. David, you've been on that bandwagon for a while. I agree with you. I mean, Hampton is a good basketball team for sure. So we're definitely looking out for Hampton. Again, looking at this, trying to see, is there anything else? I mean, we're looking at regionals. You got Greenland, who are they going to match up with? Mansfield, possibly. Yeah, I believe that's right. Let's see here. Mountain View. Melbourne's in the same conference as Mountain View. Dover and Episcopal will match up in the regional. Dumas and McGee could. Bergman and Manila could match up in the regional. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams, how it all shakes out. Going to 3A boys here. On the 3A boys, you got Newport. At the top right now, again, I think their resume says they are deserving of number 1, Osceola 2. Those two teams have split. It's the only loss that Newport has on the season is to Osceola. Subiaco comes in right behind them. Subiaco lost recently to Lamar. Lamar beat them pretty good at Subiaco by 17. And Paris has played Subiaco very tough as of recent. Paris is playing really, really good basketball right now. They got a bump up to 6. It was one of those things with, and I just did it, 6 and 7. I can't believe I just did it. But it was one of those things with Paris and Lamar at 6 and 7. Paris has beaten Lamar, so you gave them the edge. Drew Central, I know that a lot of people say, well, Drew Central beat Riverview. That's true. I just went back and looked at recent results. That Riverview game was quite a while back. I think that you could take 5 through 8. You could put them in a hat. I think that if you come up with a different result, it wouldn't shock me, and I don't think it would be wrong. Bergman at 9 is a team that probably can be higher. They have fallen as of recent. And, right now I think, lost 3 of 4 in the conference recently to Flippin. And we just felt like that Bergman right now, they're still a contender, I believe, for to go deeper into the state tournament. And then you got Mayflower. Don't know a ton about Mayflower. I think they're athletic. I think that they're pretty good. And we'll see how it goes. Sorry, got to get my drink here. Keep going. Let's go to 4A. 1A, 4A, and 6A were the ones that I really looked at the most on the boys' side. There are definitely some changes there. On the girls' side, not as many. Nashville, I think they're a team right now that you could say is at the top 5, 6 in state overall. Pulaski Academy comes in right behind them in Forest City. I think you compare those two up. There's not a lot of difference between those two right there. Robinson and Heber, again, pair those up. Not a lot of difference between those right there. And then I think they're real close to that Forest City and Pulaski Academy. Heber Springs, Southside comes in right behind them. Shiloh Christian comes in behind them. Pea Ridge right behind them. DeQueen and Arkadelphia. DeQueen is a team. They have played pretty good basketball as of recent. Nashville got them pretty good. They're a team that I could see moving up in those polls there and being a little bit further up than they are. Moving on to the 4A boys. Now, again, we're looking at 4A boys as one of these that we felt like we needed to take more of a look at, and this is what we came up with here. Mills and Hall, to me, seem like they are the cream of the crop. Hall seems like a team that is the only team that can really play with Mills and give them a game. Maybe I'm wrong. Brooklyn could be in that. Blytheville also could be in that mix there. And so anyway, I felt like that Hall had dropped to 3, Brooklyn at 2. We switched those back just because of the resume that Hall has is phenomenal. The only loss that they have is to Mills. That was by 8 points. As far as in-class teams, that's about as close as anybody has played. Mills, Brooklyn's a very good team. Lane Webster, man, 6'8", he's going to be tough to contend with there. We moved Blytheville up to 4, and again, just kind of looking at resumes, felt like Blytheville's resume really stacked up, and then the win over Easton. But I'm going to tell you, you take that 4 through 9, I think, put them in a hat, throw them together. I think you could come up with any certain situation there. Pottsville over Eastham. I looked at Pottsville and Eastham really tough. They're like right together. They have several crossover wins, meaning they've played several opponents, common opponents here. I can't remember if I wrote that down or not. Let me look here. I was looking at their common opponents. When you looked at common opponents between those two, they were basically similar wins. It was, the margins of victory were basically the same. What the difference right now, to me, and again, you're splitting hairs between number 6 and number 7, Pottsville over Eastham, and I'll throw Shiloh in there as well. Shiloh is in that regional with Pottsville. That could be a very interesting matchup when it's all said and done. But when you look at Pottsville and Eastham, really the difference to me was that Pottsville's 18-2, Eastham is 23-6. According to Scorebook Live, they are. To be quite honest, I know that I've talked to Coach Patel about the record, and he told me that JV was included in that, so it's hard to come out with the exact record that they have. But when it came down to it, I felt like that Pottsville had enough good victories plus their strength of record of 18-2 was enough to put them over Eastham. And then Magnolia, I think, is a team that could make noise in the state tournament. They're right behind them. Morrilton comes in right behind them. Morrilton's playing very well right now. And then at number 10, the Ozark Hillbillies come in at 19-4 right now. Cooper Dewar is a really good player there at Ozark, and they play really good basketball over there. They've got some good wins. Alma is a good win for Ozark. They're a very solid basketball club over there. Coach Brad Johnson does a great job over there. And I've got some comments here. David Bartlett says, look out for the McGee Lady Owls. I'm with you. Melbourne boys are fixing to slip into the top 10. Kim, you're always there. Appreciate you joining us here. Let's see here. Just FYI, when the Sloan Hendricks girls lost to Mark Tree, their senior starting guard was out. She had actually just gotten hurt, and the first Sloan Hendricks game and Riverside went into overtime. Sloan Hendricks had 2 different chances to win it. Turn the ball over. Sloan Hendricks could have easily be 26-0. I know they're not, but they could. I get it. You're just going off what information you have. That is exactly right, Chelsea. I am. And again, when I looked at just the other opponents as well, That was it. It was just hard to split. It was literally splitting hairs. Again, I could put both of those at 2 and 2, and it would be just as right. Aaron Lindsay says our conference and regional is a gauntlet. Lots of great teams. That is true. That's a really good conference up there and regional up there. The 2 and the 3 and the 3A is going to be a really tough match up there. Aaron doesn't like that I went past the Flippin' boys. Well, let me say this about Flippin'. I'm impressed with Flippin' right now. They've got some solid wins right now. I'll be honest with you. I really am surprised by the Flippin' Bobcats a little bit just because they lost their best scorer last year. And, they brought back a lot, but, you lost a 2,000-point scorer off that team, and you were able to bounce back. Not only are you able to bounce back, but right now you lead that conference. And, again, number 4 in the state. I don't know that there's a lot else to say other than good things about the Flippin' Bobcats. I think that they are they're a contender. I think that they're a contender in the 3A. I'm impressed. I'll say that. Does that help, Aaron? Does that help? Does that get me back in the good graces there? Anyway, we looked at 1A, 4A, and 6A the most on the boys' side just to try to get these rankings correct if we can. I mean, what is even correct when you're talking about the rankings? That's a good question there. Let's go to the 5A girls. Not a lot of change in the 5A girls. Farmington, number 1 team, not only in the 5A but overall. I think that Valonia is a team right now that can play against them and maybe give them a game. Greene County Tech, I think Valonia and Greene County Tech are similar teams. Lake Hamilton has played well this year. Good team down there in South Arkansas. Mountain Home is also good. I think there's a good delineation between 5 and 6 in the rest of the conference there in the 5A. Van Buren, Greenbrier, Valley View, Little Rock Christian, and Nettleton. Looked at those guys pretty hard, and I found really not a lot of difference between them. Van Buren, I think, has the best resume right now, and then you can follow in and kind of flow into there. Little Rock Christian is a little bit surprising because the Rogers girl is there, and usually when you have a Division I talent like that, you're usually able to overcome. And I don't know if there's injuries or anything there, but I really felt like that they might be up a little bit. But, again, a lot of basketball to be played still left. Sorry, you're having to watch me get drinks. I'm not great at talking through this because I usually get a dry throat and cough and all this other good stuff. So, anyway, I don't know if anybody's got anything else about the 5A there, but that is your 5A girls rankings. Again, we want to thank Russellville Nursing and Rehab for being a part of that with us. Let me bring in the 5A boys real quick. 5A boys, I don't think there was a ton of changes in the 5A boys either. We had... did I bring in? You know what? I'm not sure that these are the correct rankings for 5A boys. Let me go in here and look. I thought one of them didn't save correctly, and I think this was the one. Yeah, that isn't correct. I'm going to have to get that corrected. Let me give you the actual 5A boys rankings. Parkview, Marion, Farmington, Greene County Tech, Benton, Valonia, Little Rock Christian, Alma, Van Buren, and West Memphis. And again, like I said, I felt like one of them didn't save correctly, and that was the one. Alma's the one that got in there. Alma's 16-6 overall. Actually, Van Buren is as well, but Alma has the win over Van Buren as of recent. West Memphis playing pretty well down here. Little Rock Christian obviously is a team that everybody's going to be looking at right now, thinking, with the Andrews kid, obviously they're going to make a move. You would think they're going to make a move in that 5A and make it difficult. So we'll see what happens there with them. The recent results definitely said that they probably needed to be further down. But, I mean, again, it's just one of those things. They've been injured. He's been injured. It's really tough to make a real assessment on them. Benton's a team playing pretty well right now. Parkview, Marion, maybe your favorites out of the 5A right now, but we will see. Moving on to 6A real quick, and stay with me here. If you've got any comments that you want to actually talk ball, definitely interested in taking your comments after it's all said and done here. So I know that when we get into these bigger classifications, I usually see a drop-off in our viewership. So if you want to make your comment known, we can try to do that. So anyway, real quick, with the 6A, we got North Little Rock, Harbor, Northside, Bentonville West, Bryant, and Fayetteville. When it got down to the bottom of it, I compared Bryant, Fayetteville, and Little Rock Central. I couldn't find a ton of difference between the three of them. Fayetteville got the nod because they had the win over Little Rock Central earlier in the season. Northside fell. They were been our number one team. They fell to Harbor recently, and North Little Rock just jumped up there in that top spot. So Harbor leads that conference right now in the 6A West, and so they get the nod, got a good record. Bentonville West right there as well, 19-3, I think, for Bentonville West. So anyway, good group there. And then big movement in the boys' rankings, quite a bit of movement in the boys' rankings here as Bryant stays there. They're the number one team overall. Fayetteville jumps up to number 2. They're leading the 6A West. I think Fayetteville right now is playing the best of this group, and so we felt like Fayetteville deserved to be up there, even though their overall record's not great. Harbor comes in right there. I've heard a lot of good things about Harbor. Bentonville West coming in behind them. North Little Rock and Jonesboro coming in behind them. North Little Rock beat Jonesboro right before the snow by 2, and it was at North Little Rock. We'll see what happens between them. Number one, those two being down there, it's really hard for me to rank them down there. But right now, I feel like that's where the resumes stack up. So anyway, that is our re-rankings. And, man, we went over this quite a bit. And I looked at, I can't tell you how many matchups and who beat who and different things of that nature. And I tried my best to come up with as good a ranking as I could come up with. So, let me know what you think. We've got time for comments. If you got comments, we've got time for them. I'm not going to read them if they're nasty, but I'll definitely talk ball with you if you want to talk ball. Regional and state coming up very soon, and we're looking forward to being, again, we're going to be at Morrilton, and we're going to be at Stamps at Lafayette County. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time. We love being at the state tournament. That's our bread and butter there. This will be our 5th basketball state tournament. But anyway, anybody got anything? I'm looking at any previous comments right now. Man, I'll tell you what, the Hogs lost the other day. I was really sad about that. They lost to Kentucky. You would have thought, I felt like Arkansas could win that ball game, but man, they just didn't play very well. So that's your Razorback report. Anyway, anybody got anything before we cut this off? I do appreciate you joining us here. And again, just staying with us. This re-rank is something I felt like that we just wanted to do. Number one, again, when you look at their non-conference, it's very hard to come up with an actual good ranking. I felt like now, since there's been enough conference games to be played, enough in-class games to be played, you could actually get a good ranking. I felt like we got that. Maybe we didn't, but I felt like that's about as good as we can get it, I could say, for right now. Again, results will matter going down the stretch. We'll see some changes. We'll see some movement. We'll see a lot of good things happen. But, when it gets down to this time, and basketball is getting down to the most interesting time in the state, it's going to be fun. You said you were surprised by Flippin being as good, losing Rylan Robbins. We had a really strong sophomore class that went through junior high with 1 loss in 2 years. They have all now made their way to the varsity level and are very balanced scoring. I heard that from Coach Robbins. I heard that you got a good group there. So it looks like that you're going to be strong again next year as well, Aaron. And believe it or not, Aaron, I used to be a Flippin' Bobcat myself way back in the day.
I spent time there in the second grade and the third grade there. Um, anybody else got anything as we go here, getting ready to wrap this one up? Um, Again, appreciate you joining us here, and again, uh, we'll try to be back with you again throughout the week, talking about what's happening throughout the state. Um, we want to talk about the Hogs as well if we can. Hopefully, they'll give us something good to talk about. Although Arkansas doesn't play until Saturday, so they play at Mississippi State. That's a big game there. So definitely need a win there. Anybody else got anything before I cut it off here? All minds clear. Anyway, hey, appreciate you joining me here on ASN. We appreciate you participating with us. We cannot do this without you. Um, and, I just, sometimes I get phone calls from people and hear good things. And it's always good to hear good things about what you're doing. And I tell you what, for us, the number one thing is to make sure that these kids and these programs are known throughout the state of Arkansas, and that's what we want to do. We're passionate about this state, and we're passionate about your students, and looking forward to a great end of the basketball season because, man, basketball gets fun about this time. Anyway, one more time, I'm checking comments. Nothing new, nothing new, nothing new. Appreciate you joining us here on ASN, and we'll talk to you soon.